guys, it's Jen with the Cyrus Fiene team. Thank you so much for coming back to our channel and checking out our next video. Today I'm going to be telling you about what it takes to purchase a home, but more specifically the cash involved and what cash you need for the closing table. I'm here at Volunteer Park. It is our first sunny day we've had in a really long time, so I'm super excited to get out and I'll show you a little bit of the park while I'm here. So there are four major parts when it comes to the cash that you're going to need. There's the down payment, there's your closing costs, any costs associated with inspections that you will do on this home, and then also the cash needed for your actual move, the moving costs. People never remember this one, so we'll get into it. All right, the first thing that you need for your cash to close is your down payment. Your down payment is a percentage of the purchase price of the home that you're purchasing. So the minimum that you're able to obtain a loan for is between 3% and 5% of the purchase price. So dependent upon the program that you actually qualify for, like I said, that minimum is either between 3 and 5%. It all depends on the program. So if you're purchasing a $500,000 house and the program you qualify for allows you a 5% down payment, that would mean that you need to bring $25,000 for your down payment portion. When you do put down 20%, it does eliminate one factor. It removes your PMI. So if you are putting less than 20% down, you must pay what's called private mortgage insurance, which is required by the lender. The PMI is determined by a couple factors. So you've got your credit score, and then you've also got how close you are to that 20%. Then that determines what that PMI monthly payment is. A lot of people believe it's so much higher than it really is. So it could be as close to maybe $100. So are you willing to not purchase a home just because you have to pay an extra $100 a month? I wouldn't be. Your equity in your home is going to grow so much in the time that it takes you to save up that extra, let's say 15%, than it would just to go ahead and pay the extra $100 a month for the PMI. So PMI, the private mortgage insurance, is insurance that the lender has basically as a requirement so that if you default on your loan, that they can repossess the home and they get money because you didn't pay your mortgage. With the PMI, we've had instances with clients where they're putting 5% down and they have very exceptional credit. Their PMI was $175 a month, whereas someone that has less than ideal credit with, again, that 5% down, where their PMI was roughly $450 a month. So there is a big difference depending on your credit score. But then another thing to consider is if you are closer to that 20%, so let's say 15% down, and you have exceptional credit, I've seen as low as $75 a month. So it really does depend, and it's kind of on a moving scale, and it all depends on your specific situation. One other loan program that I did want to call out is the VA loan, so veterans loans. With a VA loan, you qualify to do 0% down. You don't have to put anything down if you don't want to. And additionally, there is no private mortgage insurance. So it is an awesome deal. If you are a veteran, I would love to talk to you. You should definitely buy a house today. Often forgotten is the closing costs, which is the next portion that is required for the cash to close. Included in your closing costs, you're going to find first and foremost is the fee that is associated with obtaining that loan. There will also be a fee for your appraisal. We'll have another video that will go over appraisals a little further, but feel free to call us if you have any questions in the interim.
You should also count on prepaid interest for your loan. This is daily interest that accrues on your mortgage from the date of closing until your first payment is made. You are prepaying it at closing, which is why it's called prepaid interest.
The next would be title and escrow fees. So within title and escrow fees, that's the fee that's associated with the third-party escrow officer and their team to actually process the purchase and make sure the seller delivers what they're supposed to and the buyer delivers what they're supposed to. There's also your notary fee, there's your recording fee to make sure that your name will be transferred from the seller's name to the buyer's name. All right, so the next part is property taxes. With property taxes, it's going to be prorated depending upon what time of year it is. So property taxes are charged in April and October, half and half each time. So if the seller has already paid a portion of property taxes, you will be prorated from the day that you're taking ownership through when the next payment is due. Next, if the property that you are purchasing has an HOA, which is a homeowners association, if it does, there's typically going to be an amount that you have to have due at the closing table, which is typically 2 months of HOA dues. That amount is sometimes used as it goes towards the HOA reserve. Sometimes that 2 months of HOA is used as a prepayment for your first 2 months. Each HOA kind of does it different, but it is good to know that there's an additional 2 months of HOA dues that they take at closing. Sometimes there's also an HOA transfer fee, or it can be called a move-in fee, or there could be both. There's always different fees associated with HOAs. It's just kind of what's to be expected, but good to know up front. That is something that I would always take my clients through, is letting you know ahead of time what HOA fees you can expect. Sometimes the seller's responsible for this, but it's not a good idea to assume that. That's why we go over it with you ahead of time.
As you can probably see, closing costs is a hard number to estimate given so many factors. I'd say a good rule of thumb is to plan for at least $10,000. It could be more, it could be less. It all depends on your situation and when your first mortgage payment is taking place, etc.
All right, we've gone over the 2 things that are required to bring to the closing table. Now let's also talk about the thing people often forget, the inspections. Inspections on a home cost money, and that is something that you as the buyer are responsible for. We recommend doing a home inspection 100% of the time. We never want you to skip this step. It's really important to learn the health of the home, understanding how it works, make sure there's no major problems. The inspection is super important, along with getting a sewer scope if this is a single family home. The sewer scope is actually where they take a little camera, goes down the pipe and all the way out to the main line, which is typically in the middle of the street from the home. This is one area we cannot see with our eyes and is probably one of the very most expensive parts of the home, and so very important. All right, so since we're talking about costs, let's break down what the costs are for these inspections. A home inspection is typically anywhere from $400 to about $650, depending on the size of the home. Your sewer scope, you can expect it to be right around $300, give or take.
The last thing that you should budget for is your moving costs. The cost for the actual move can vary so much. It all depends on the size of your home, depends on if you are going to be doing your own packing and your own moving, or if you're hiring movers and they're going to be moving for you. So it really depends. So I would say it can vary anywhere from like $1,000 to even like $5,000, depending on how many bedrooms you have. It really does vary. Of course, this is not including any additional things you might want to do, like paint or remodeling. That would be an additional cost. And that, again, totally varies if you're going to do it yourself or if you're going to hire out. One other tidbit I did want to note is that it is ideal to have a really good rainy day fund. We typically recommend to clients to have anywhere from 6 to 12 months of your typical expenses. That way, if anything comes up unexpected, you're set. So if you lose your job, if something unexpected comes up with the home, if you get sick, anything along those lines, you're set. So just keep that in mind as well. To summarize, the cash you will need to purchase a home is number 1, the down payment, minimum of 3 to 5% of the purchase price, but 20% is historically traditional but not required. Number 2, closing costs. A good estimate is around $10,000. Number 3, inspections. I'd budget for about $1,000. Number 4, moving costs. I'd estimate $1,000 to $5,000. If you have a larger home or are moving a longer distance, the price would increase. Since I'm here is a little information.
The Volunteer Park Conservatory is a botanical garden. It is a landmark in Seattle, Washington, in the north end of Capitol Hill. It is made up of 3,426 glass panels fit into a wood and iron frame. It costs $6 for an adult to get in, and it's about $4 for a child or a senior. There is an annual pass, which is $30 for an individual or $40 for a family. It's super amazing to come see this in the spring when all the flowers are in bloom and the plants are just so gorgeous with the light shining through the conservatory.
Thank you so much for watching. I really do hope that you learned something. If you have any questions at all, please comment below, because if you have the question, I'm sure that someone else does too.
Like and subscribe. It would be great to follow along with our journey and all the stories we have to tell you about Seattle and the buying and selling process.